So hopefully that will work and we'll see a successful soft splashdown. For the ship, we're hoping to demonstrate controlled re-entry, including a flip maneuver and landing burn, and that will be followed by splashdown in the Indian Ocean. That is the same target as we had on Flight 3, so everything should look pretty similar in that regard. And we just heard the call out there that all prop load is closed out, so at this point, there is like 10 million pounds of propellant on board Starship, which is incredible.
This is getting very exciting. We are just about 2 minutes away from T0.
And as Jesse just said, we are under 2 minutes away. So prop load is complete. All the fill drain lines into ship and booster have closed. Right now we're doing the pushback, so clearing out all those ground lines of propellant, and that'll be completed over the next couple of seconds. We're coming up on that T-minus 40 mark. Again, not planning to hold. If we do, or if we get a hold after we pass it, we can snap back to that T-minus 40, and then we can stay there for about 30 minutes or so if any other issues crop up. Once we pass T-minus 40, a lot of things happen, both on the vehicle and the ground. It's running a lot of its own self-checkouts, venting different tanks and pressure lines throughout the vehicle. We essentially built that 40 seconds as that's about how much time it takes for the vehicle to take all of those actions, which is why we hold there. But all of that happens automated. You do a final checkout of the TVC, the thrust vector control, how we're going to steer. And then we see liftoff. So we're under a minute away. "45 seconds and counting.
Good event, game met.
All right, now as we close in, we are past the 40-second mark. So let's listen in. Flight Director Ty Huntington's going to take us through one more time for a Starship liftoff.
T-minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We have liftoff.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
All right, 30 seconds into flight. The rumbles are still building here in the Raptor's nest. We're seeing 32 out of 33 engines lit on the Super Heavy right now. Coming up shortly is going to be max Q, that maximum aerodynamic pressure as we go uphill on the vehicle.
Max Q.
All right, we just passed through max Q, so we're going to continue on up. We still have about a minute and 30 seconds until we get to stage separation. Starship now flying faster than the speed of sound. All right, so you got a couple of views. You got some ground trackers in your top camera there. You're looking down from the top of the booster in the bottom left, and then a camera in the top flap of the ship looking back in the bottom right, so getting a couple of different looks as Starship heads uphill. Once we get the hot staging, a lot of things happen all at once simultaneously. We're going to light the engines on the ship, starting with the RVACs first, and then the 3 center sea level engines before we're separated. All of that exhaust gets plumed out the side of the hot stage, and then the ship will separate itself. All but the 3 center engines on the booster are going to shut down, so the booster never stops its thrust while we go through this hot stage maneuver. After that, the booster is going to do its flip, start heading back, and then the ship will be on its own power on its way to space. So that should be coming up in just about 30 seconds from now. As of right now, still looking in like 32 out of 33 Raptors lit on the booster. And we'll start to see those stagger down. They're going to turn off in banks, so you'll see the lights on the bottom left screen of the engines that are active start to turn off in different groups, and you'll see those 3 center ones lit.
Booster engine cut off.
Ship ignition. Stage separation confirmed.
Boost back burn, start up.
Acquisition signal. Houston.
Hot stage confirmed. Ship under its own power. Booster boosting back. Looks like all 13 are lit. Kate, we got a booster on the way back to the Gulf and a ship on the way to space.
Acquisition signal. Status.
Ship chamber pressures are nominal.
Ship power and telemetry nominal.
All right, the first stage currently performing the boost back burn. This is expected to last a little over 1 minute. This propels the booster back toward the coast, taking it to a landing in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see on your screen in the bottom left-hand corner, we were only using the 13 center engines from here on.
Boost back burn, shut down.
Heard confirmation there of good boost back burn shutdown.
Stage 2 tank pressures are nominal.
Lots of excitement. So right here, this is our view of the jettisoned hot stage. As we mentioned, this is a temporary fix to help reduce the weight of the booster, the super heavy booster. Future iterations will have a lighter weight integrated hot stage structure that won't need to be jettisoned. Now, after we jettison that hot stage, the booster will begin to attempt its water landing in the Gulf. In the meantime, the ship will coast for about 40 minutes or so up to an altitude of 214 kilometers. And after its coast phase, it will attempt a controlled reentry, including a flip maneuver and a landing burn, just before splashing down in the Indian Ocean. But as a reminder, we are not attempting...
Trajectory nominal.
Good news there. Trajectory is looking good for the ship, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. At this point in time, as you can see, we have no engines lit on the booster. It is coasting back toward the Gulf of Mexico for a water landing and ship under power of all 6 Raptor engines. There's 3 sea level and 3 vacuum Raptor engines that are lit, as we can see on your screen.
These views have been looking incredible. Super Heavy has been performing beautifully today. And you can hear the crowd is very excited about it. As a reminder for Booster, the primary goal today is to do a landing burn and a splashdown in the water. And we are just about 30 seconds away from that landing burn expecting to begin. And an incredible view from the forward portion of the booster. This is basically on top of the Super Heavy booster where we have jettisoned that hot stage. So now we can see this incredible view of Earth as it's making its way back down to the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, the booster is using the 4 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through atmospheric re-entry. And we are expecting that landing burn here. And we will be igniting 13 engines, and this is a great view. On your left-hand side is 3 views from the booster, and your right-hand side a view from the ship. And you can see those grid fins on your left-hand screen rotating and turning to guide the booster, and there's that that landing burn just begun, and you can see the water below. And we have splashdown. What an incredible sight! Congratulations to the SpaceX team!
Ship has entered terminal guidance.
That was absolutely incredible. The
Expected loss
first
signal,
successful splashdown of the Super Heavy booster. Loved seeing it just tip over into the water before losing that footage. Now the next milestone is coming up in about under a minute.
Signal,
Ship is going to shut off its Raptor engines,
Ship engine cut off.
which we see right there. As we mentioned before, today's test flight is not an orbital flight, but rather one that demonstrates the Starship's orbital capability. So right now, we are under power with just the 3 center Raptor engines. Expecting those, and just there, we could see that those have also successfully cut off.
Ship FDS is saved.
What an incredible
Nominal orbit insertion.
Oh, there's great news there. The call out we were hoping to hear. Amazing views once again from Starship. We have our second Starship in space. These live views being brought to us by Starlink, which is on board the ship. Dan, what an incredible view we have once again. So exciting. We got another ship in space.
I'm like still jumping up and down. I'm
Expected
like,
loss signal.
this whole building was going absolutely insane when we saw the booster hit the water. I mean, wow. Congrats to everybody that's just been putting in insane amounts of hours on everything to make this thing a reality. And I feel like every single time we do one of these, we're seeing something wildly new. We got to see the hot stage jettison and the booster in the water. But just to recap real quick over everything that's happened. So we lifted off at 7:50 a.m. only 9 minutes ago. How has it only been 9 minutes? 7:50 a.m. Central at 12:50 UTC. We saw 32 of the 33 Raptor engines on Super Heavy make the ascent. We had successful cutoff, successful hot staging, all 6 engines on the ship, powered it all the way into a nominal orbital trajectory. And we've already been getting some live views from the ship on board. After that, the booster was able to do its boost back burn. Oh, this looks like we're actually getting some views from the ground still, potentially from Florida, of the ship as it's up there. That's a view from some of our tracking cameras on the ground in Florida. But the ship, we just heard successful orbital insertion, so it's right where it needs to be and is now going to continue on its way to coast until it comes to reentry. But I mean, the booster, successful boost back burn, jettison the hot stage, and then a landing burn. It looked like we saw 12 of the 13 engines light up, and then that first ever soft splashdown in the water. So a whole lot still to come. Ship now on its way to its primary objective of entry. That's going to be coming up in just under 40 minutes from now. So a lot still to come, but wow, what a 9 minutes to start this mission off. So can't wait to see what entry is going to show us, but that launch was incredible. Back over to you, Jesse and Kate.
Wow. I am still trying to catch my breath here. That was some incredible views that we have never seen before. It has been nonstop since liftoff, and with the booster having completed its job for the day, we're going to take a short break for about the next 28 minutes, and we'll return while we're going to take a break while the ship is continuing to coast before re-entry.
Exactly. As with Flight 3, Starlink may enable us to talk with the ship through re-entry with no communication blackout. We are still testing Starlink during this phase of flight, so of course nothing is certain. However, if we do have views, we will be sure to bring those to you live. Views such as the one, that we had. Well, of course, because I said it, it went away. So we will try to bring those to you live.
Exactly. Views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's re-entry, flip maneuver, landing burn, and splashdown.
Expected loss of signal, Key West. Expected loss signal, Cape Canaveral. Acquisition signal, Puerto Rico.
RVAC pre-valves are open.
Acquisition signal, RDB stock.
Starship is slowing to entry attitude.
Welcome back to Starship's fourth flight test. It has been an exciting day so far. We had an on-time liftoff of 7:50 a.m. Central Time, followed by successful hot staging, stage separation, jettisoning of the hot stage structure, an epic super heavy booster landing, water landing in the Gulf of Mexico, the first successful return of the super heavy booster. So that was incredible to see. And right now, the ship is in space. As you can see here by this view, we're looking at one of the flaps of Starship, one of four. You can actually see a close-up side detail of some of those hexagonal heat shield tiles. Now, coming up around T plus 49 minutes, the ship will re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. As a reminder, the primary goal of today's flight test is for a ship to make it through the extreme heat of re-entry. This is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with the spacecraft because it's re-entering at or around orbital velocity, which is about 8 kilometers per second or roughly 5 miles per second. At those speeds, the spacecraft moving through the atmosphere results in friction and creates a plasma field around the vehicle. That blanket of plasma distorts, as you can see, that plasma blanket, which you can kind of see here, distorts communication frequencies. So we're left with a brief blackout in communication.
Yeah, that's right, Kate. And Starlink's what's really allowing us to capture as much data as possible, especially through this reentry. Updated animation, landing burn. I hope we get to see it for real today. But these live views that we're getting now and we're going to continue to get are through Starlink. That's going to allow us to get as much data as possible, which we've said it before. We're going to say it 9,000 times. The data is the payload on these flights. So as much as we can learn, that's just going to pay dividends on all of our future flights and help us get Starship to an operational phase. Reentry, obviously a really critical phase of the flight, and it's the one that we're now most focused on cracking to get us closer to that full reusability. Starlink is going to be able to send us data back all the way through reentry. We've done some additional testing, and we're expecting to be able to get data from Starlink thanks to its high frequency and kind of the orientation and everything of Starship all the way through reentry. And then got a new view here. We have two external views. We had this one on Flight 3. We've got two for this one. And we're going to continue adding views as we continue to evolve Starship. Again, this is an experimental vehicle. Believe me, I want as many camera views as you all do. So huge shout out to the AVI and the software teams and everybody that's been working with us. We're getting more cameras on Starship, not just because it looks cool, but this provides an incredible insight into reentry, which is, historically a really tough window to look
Starship is
through.
approaching entry
The
interface.
physics of reentry are insanely intense. One of my favorite NASA astronauts, Victor Glover, recently described it as with the forces and the flows and the temperatures, it's like pointing at a raging river in one spot and saying, tell me exactly what's happening right there. And that's what a ship is experiencing as it goes through, as it's moving through the atmosphere at, more than 5 miles a second and heating up to thousands of degrees. So just having visual representation, just being able to see what's happening is incredibly valuable. So these views are going to be through Starlink. We've got this one. This is in one of the forward flaps looking back. So if you see it rotating around, that's because, again, it's embedded in one of those forward flaps. So as we get through and we start to build up density in the atmosphere, this view is going to move around as the flap does. And then the other one we had a little bit earlier is looking at one of the other forward flaps on the other side. Eventually, we're going to keep adding more cameras to Starship, get a couple of different views from the outside of all the different areas, and then also eventually to be able to see payloads once they're deployed. So a lot more exciting stuff coming up in the future. But right now, we're getting closer to reentry. Again, we're going to be moving at hypersonic speeds at more than 5 times the speed of sound. We're going to see that plasma start to build. So, Kate, Jesse, excitement coming up.
Yeah, as you can see with that view on your screen, again, high def brought to us by Starlink. We can see the plasma beginning to build as the ship is getting closer to the Earth's atmosphere. Now, let's talk a little bit about how Starship will survive reentry, hopefully, and control itself.
Exactly. We've been talking about this entire flight test. There's 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles surrounding the bottom portion or the Earth-facing side of the ship.
Through 100 kilometers altitude, good altitude for entry.
Great call-outs there. Now, during atmospheric reentry, the vehicle is going to see temperatures as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit or over 1,400 degrees Celsius. So those tiles are there to help protect the vehicle from this extreme heat.
Yeah, and the flaps will help control it. Now, one noticeable difference I see immediately, those flaps are not moving as much as they were on Flight 3. So that is a great sign, right? We had unplanned loss of roll control on Flight 3, so we added some additional thrusters, and we can see that they're working well, and we have a much more stable view. So those flaps, there's 4 of them, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. They're made out of stainless steel. And yeah, they help steer the ship, which, as we can see, the plasma continuing to build. Now, if the ship survives reentry, it will have to perform a flip maneuver as well as a landing burn. We saw this demonstrated in a couple of high-altitude flight tests back in 2020, 2021. Similarly,
Temperatures increasing on the nose within expected ranges.
Great news there. It sounds like the temperatures that we are getting during this point, which again, we usually don't get during spaceflight because of this plasma. We're getting this live. This is a great news. So similarly to, for example, the serial number 10 test that we saw a couple years ago, we're hoping to duplicate that again today. Hopefully we will see it live. And basically the 3 center engines of the ship will reignite and gimbal or point to help flip the ship until those engines are pointing down so that it can land vertically using Raptor's thrust.
And as you can see, even from the beginning of the program, we've designed Starship to land on Mars where there are no runways or other humans to help out. We also want rapid reusability, so we're doing...
Vehicle is passing through 85 kilometers altitude. The flaps have control of the vehicle.
Great news. Flaps have control of the vehicle. That's exactly what we want to hear for this flight test.
Yeah.
Again, we are going to be doing a propulsive landing instead of a more traditional means like parachutes. And we are expecting re-entry to begin here in just about a minute. Re-entry, an awesome view that we have here.
Starship remains on a good entry trajectory.
This is the same view that we had when we first returned from the coast phase. Again, this is looking at the side of one of the flaps. It's incredible that literally at the bottom of this picture, we're basically looking through plasma, which is just absolutely mind-blowing.
Wild, very wild. Now we are expecting entry to begin here in about 30 seconds or so. Entry to splashdown is expected to last about 6 minutes long. And that flip maneuver should occur around about 10 minutes before splashdown. And such incredible views that we're getting.
Approaching peak heating region.
Great call outs there.
Yeah, these views are absolutely astounding.
Nose temperatures continue to rise within expected region.
And in your bottom right-hand corner, you can also follow along with the altitude of ship as it's returning back to Earth.
So once again, this view is basically looking down into the plasma blanket that is building up around the exterior of Starship. It is traveling, as you can see on your screen. You can look in the bottom right-hand corner and see how fast it's going, how high it is, as well as the general orientation. Again, we're seeing a lot more stability, a lot more control here on this flight, which is great. It shows that the iterations, the learning...
Starship is now in expected peak heating region.
All right, great news there, telling us that this is basically the hottest point that Starship should get during its re-entry. Now, the heat shield is working with the atmosphere for some free braking, okay? The atmosphere is helping to slow the Starship down.
Yeah, exactly. We're not using any engines or thrust to slow the vehicle down. Exactly what Kate mentioned. We're just using the atmosphere and those heat shield tiles protecting the vehicle as it's coming through that high heat temperature.
Yeah. Now, this is another one of those moments that we have been waiting for. Right now, the ship is currently re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and by all looks and all call-outs that we're hearing on the net, it is doing pretty well. Now, we do not plan to recover the spacecraft today, but rapid and reliable reusability is the ultimate goal.
And just pausing to just take in this incredible new and different view that we're seeing. We did get a similar view in Flight 3, but again, the vehicle did lose a little bit of its control, attitude control, and this is a very stable view. This is great. This is exactly what we want, and we are hearing that we're getting expected call-outs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Starship is seeing half a G of acceleration, remains on a good entry trajectory.
You know, it's incredible to look at this photo and wonder, wait, is it real? Is it frozen? You know, we can see so I was just going to say
Those temperatures have stopped increasing.
Oh, that is great news. The temperature is no longer building. But I was saying, we have a little bit of indication there. We can see that streaking that occurs and tells us that this is indeed a true view. So once again, we are looking basically through the plasma that is building up around the exterior of the ship.
And I still cannot get over that we are getting a live view of re-entry right now, live on your screen. Again, we've said this over and over, but all thanks to Starlink. We are able to use Starlink in space, which we're getting this incredible data. And not only just the data from the sensors, but getting live imagery of what is actually happening, which is great, which we've never been able to do live before.
Right. Now, just a quick future outlook here. So in about, let's see, at T plus about 1 hour and 2 minutes, we should hear a call out for entry transonic. That means that the ship is going near the speed of sound. And then about a minute after that, we'll hear another call out saying entry subsonic, meaning that the ship is going below the speed of sound. So these are all continued indications that the atmosphere, right, as the ship comes back down, it is getting through the more dense part of the atmosphere, and that atmosphere is helping to push against the vehicle, and those heat shields are protecting the vehicle during this high heat period.
Yeah, Kate and Jesse, we're starting to see as the atmosphere gets denser, you're starting to see a few more particles make an appearance in the plasma there. You can see you're looking down at the aft end of the ship in the top left, and you're seeing essentially the flame build up as we go through reentry. You've been hearing the call-outs. They're tracking things like temperatures in the nose cone, and those were right where we modeled them to be, which is really cool to see and to see in real time. But we're coming up, we're at about 67 kilometers in altitude. Our last signal with the ship on Flight 3 was at 65, so we should be making it past that point shortly. Obviously, as you guys
Bueno, estamos en la transmisión en vivo
this time as we re-entered in the right
del lanzamiento de la Starship. Hemos estado viendo cómo
so far. Once we get through transonic, that's
hemos estado mirando cómo se ha podido atravesar casi todas las más complicadas etapas del vuelo. Aquí estamos viendo el momento de la reentrada. Esto es increíble, esto es completamente increíble porque ahora mismo se está observando cómo la nave atraviesa la atmósfera y va creando una capa de plasma que se forma inevitablemente por la fuerza tremenda con la que está enfrentando a la atmósfera nuestra nave Starship. Starship ahora mismo está haciendo una cosa triplemente increíble, que es llegar a atravesar la atmósfera, crear la burbuja de plasma y que esa burbuja de plasma no evite las comunicaciones con el exterior. Ahí veo que se está deteniendo uno que otro cuadro de la transmisión. Eso podría implicar que sean pérdidas precisamente porque el plasma, al crear digamos, una sopa de electrones que se separan de sus átomos, impide, es como una manta electromagnética que no deja que el resto de las ondas electromagnéticas que se estén transmitiendo, por ejemplo, la de las antenas Starlink, que son las que están haciendo manteniendo la comunicación, no permiten entonces que esas ondas de las Starlink salgan. En este caso sí están saliendo. Se está logrando una comunicación perfecta porque fíjense que todo el tiempo el vuelo está en marcha. Estamos viendo cuadro a cuadro en alta definición la transmisión de este momento. Es increíble que esto esté ocurriendo. Nunca se había visto una cosa como esta, directamente. Nunca lo habíamos visto.
End of the vehicle where we pointed out we had some intentionally missing tiles, where we've got some sensors looking at
todos los sensores que se pusieron a propósito para poder monitorear
essentially the least critical part of the heat shield, where if you had any kind of a breach, it wouldn't be great for reusability, but wouldn't be critical for actual making it through the re-entry into the landing.
Esto también se va. Esto es de la transmisión anterior. Entonces es tremendo lo que estamos observando.
Again, right now we are over the Indian Ocean. We're actually getting closer and closer to that expected splashdown point, which is just to the.
Si se atraviesa toda esta etapa, la nave ahora mismo ha bajado su velocidad de 26.000 kilómetros por hora a solo 17.000. y descendiendo a 57 kilómetros de altura.
And if you keep an eye on our speed, the speed is dropping. We're hitting the thicker part of the atmosphere now. The speed's going to start dropping precipitously. We're going to start getting to transonic pretty soon, and then after that we'll get into subsonic, where we're moving less than the speed of sound. But wow, what a light show so far.
External temperatures are starting to come down.
Again, this camera view is looking right at one of the forward flaps. And we're strategically putting some cameras around the vehicle to just look at the different areas. Looks like we got the flap starting to come apart a little.
La nave está perdiendo, parece, uno de sus alerones. La temperatura no ha soportado la temperatura. Esto es tremendo lo que les está ocurriendo ahora mismo. Y bueno, se puede entender que posiblemente no logre llegar a tierra.
This is wild to see this, but the ship is still coming down, which is incredible to see.
Lo que estamos observando es realmente increíble. Desde en Space se puede escuchar ahí cómo continúan riéndose del proceso, porque realmente son equipos de prueba. Estamos viendo prototipos, no estamos asistiendo no estamos asistiendo a un lanzamiento completo, a un lanzamiento, digamos, de un prototipo final, sino a una máquina que está todavía en construcción, y esta es una de sus iteraciones. Va a ser seguramente imposible que puedan hacer el aterrizaje. Es muy improbable.
As well, which we can see here, we are getting a lot of debris covering the camera on your screen, but we can still see some of those sparks and flames from that high heat as ship is making its way back down to Earth.
Ship now at 50 kilometers and closing. The good news is we still got, looks like that camera lens just cracked. It's safe to say
Está
ship's
rompiéndose
getting a little
todo.
beat up, but that's
Está
to be expected.
desarmándose poco a poco todo. Realmente está pasando por un proceso tremendo. Nunca lo habíamos visto en vivo, todo este proceso. Ahora, obviamente, no estamos viendo nada porque se está perdiendo la capacidad de sostenerse en pie la nave completamente, pero aún sigue descendiendo. Ahí ahora se perdió la señal, podría intuirse.
I may have jinxed it. I apologize.
Y volvió la señal, Es increíble que todavía esté andando, funcionando esta máquina. Esta cámara que estamos viendo está en uno de los alerones anteriores, delanteros. Por eso puede ser que también esté destruyéndose ese alerón y esté viéndose afectada la cámara.
Okay, good news. Those external pressures are dropping. The question is, how much of the ship is left? We can't really tell. We can't.
Anuncian que se están estabilizando las presiones exteriores, pero bueno, parece que las presiones exteriores fueron bastante altas, así que es improbable que pueda sobrevivir hasta el aterrizaje, el amarizaje que debe realizar.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and you can see that the speed is rapidly slowing down. That's actually really great news for us. We want the vehicle to be slowing down before it splashes down into the ocean. That'll help set us up for that flip maneuver, engines first down into the water.
Exactly. So we have seen this flip maneuver demonstrated on previous high altitude flight tests like serial number 8
Cada vez se
or
abren
more
más
views.
las grietas en la cámara, la cobertura de la cámara están siendo cada vez más graves, evidentemente. Aún así se puede observar un poco. Es interesante que se ha mantenido todo el tiempo la comunicación. Bueno, acaba de caer, como ven. Esto puede ser señal, cualquier cosa, de que no se pudo mantener la transmisión.
That is great news.
Acaban de anunciar que se atravesó el momento de máxima presión dinámica. Se está atravesando ahora mismo.
Speed still dropping. We're now at 37 kilometers above the ocean.
37 kilómetros sobre el océano y 4.700 kilómetros de velocidad.
Water in the Indian Ocean.
And we don't have a live view right now, but because we're still getting data and telemetry, that does tell us that ship is still doing okay, at least. And there we got that live view back.
Regresa nuevamente la transmisión en vivo.
Despite not being able to see very much.
The fact that it's there tells us the ship is still
No se ve casi nada, pero la nave está ahí, la nave está ahí.
Data as we get closer and closer to Earth.
Yes, now 30 kilometers, now 29 above the Indian
Starship is at
Ocean.
30 kilometers altitude, Mach 2.
Está ahora en Mach 2, o sea, 2 veces la velocidad del sonido. A 27 kilómetros de altura, a 1900 y bajando kilómetros por hora. Es posible que aunque no pueda realizar correctamente la maniobra de aterrizaje, que implica hacer el belly flop, hacer el movimiento de panza, aunque si seguimos a la telemetría, la nave ahora mismo estaría no enfrentando de panza, sino yendo boca abajo directamente. ...20 kilómetros de altura. Muy bien. Y parece que está haciendo algún tipo de movimientos. Se está... El movimiento que estamos apreciando tiene que ver con los movimientos del ala del alerón delantero en el que está ubicado esta cámara. Eso implica que todavía la máquina, la nave, está haciendo todo lo posible por ejecutar el aterrizaje. Está bajando a una velocidad bastante buena, está horizontal. La nave según la telemetría, según lo que podemos ver aquí de la telemetría. Así que es posible. Exacto. El próximo objetivo es hacer el movimiento el flip maneuver, la maniobra de volteado, podría ser la traducción. Así que ahí vamos. Buenísimo. Es realmente increíble. A 5 kilómetros de altura, bajó de 26.000 kilómetros por hora, bajó hasta la velocidad de 392 kilómetros por hora ahora y está a 2 kilómetros de altura. Esta es una velocidad y una altura bastante controlable por los vehículos de SpaceX.
Starship is at 2 kilometers altitude, terminal velocity.
Ya está un kilómetro, debería encender en cualquier momento sus motores. Veamos si es así. En la esquina
Landing burn startup for Starship.
inferior derecha lo pueden apreciar. Está haciendo el flip maneuver. Ahí se vio, ahí se está moviendo todo, está trabajando como si lo fuera a hacer correctamente. Esperemos que así sea. Parece que sí. Parece que sí. Parece que sí, bajó toda su velocidad y podría estar aterrizando correctamente. En SpaceX estamos escuchando que están volviéndose completamente locos. Están disfrutando tremendamente el aterrizaje como nosotros también. Bueno, ahora sí se perdió la señal. Supongo que no hay manera de que se pueda recuperar esa señal ahora mismo. Pero entiéndase que SpaceX parece haberlo logrado. La Starship hizo todo su trabajo. Se destruyó un poco en el proceso, pero hizo todo su trabajo. Es tremendo lo que ha ocurrido. Buenísimo. Hizo todo el proceso hizo todo el proceso. Tienen que estar muy, muy, muy felices en SpaceX porque han logrado completamente los objetivos del vuelo. O sea, SpaceX sigue poniendo muy alto sus estándares de trabajo, de organización, de capacidad de lograr objetivos, y aquí están demostrando que están a un nivel tremendo. La nave espacial que han llevado al espacio hoy es la más grande que ha existido nunca, la más potente, la más compleja si se quiere, porque son dos etapas recuperables, así que imaginen la importancia que tiene para los vuelos espaciales este tipo de nave. Las naves del futuro tendrían que ser así, por lo menos las naves de carga pesada, las grandes naves.
Through the atmosphere, and we got call out of our first ever ship landing burn after our launch into space. So, just really incredible. So I'm going to take some time to collect myself, but wow, that was incredible. I can't wait for the next one. Over to you guys.
It was so loud here. I haven't heard the crowd get that loud probably since liftoff of Flight 1, honestly.
That was incredible. Congratulations to our teammates, to everyone who supported the Starship program. Thanks to all of our future customers for your support. And we'd also like to thank the people of Cameron County, Texas, as well as the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the government of Mexico. And since Starship got a little bit toasty from that extreme heat of reentry, and we've got our very own Starship right here, let's have a toast of our own.
I've been waiting all morning for this.
Okay, may I?
Light me up.
Bueno, están ejecutando un bastante extraño momento en la transmisión de Starship, porque en la transmisión de este lanzamiento de Starship se ha creado SpaceX esta gran soplete que tiene forma de Starship.
Be sure to follow the SpaceX account on X for more updates from today's test flight and future Starship tests. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bueno, SpaceX lo ha logrado. Starship voló, salió de su plataforma de lanzamiento. Se separaron, hicieron la separación en caliente, la hicieron correctamente. Llegaron al espacio, regresó el booster, aterrizó, encendió todos sus motores correctamente, excepto en la salida. En el ascenso, uno de los motores del booster 11, que es la primera etapa de esta configuración que se lanzó hoy, falló en encender uno de los motores, pero aún así pudo lograr la velocidad necesaria para separarse de la Starship y poner a esta en unos 5.000 kilómetros por hora, desde los cuales la Starship se encargó de subir hasta 26.000 y tanto, casi 27.000 kilómetros por hora, que es una velocidad ligeramente suborbital. Esto le permitió hacer un vuelo de unos 30 minutos hasta llegar sobre el Océano Índico, donde descendió y pudimos observar en vivo todo el tiempo el lanzamiento de la Starship. Esto es un logro increíble. SpaceX lo ha vuelto a hacer, ha cumplido sus objetivos y bueno, aquí estuvimos para acompañarlos un rato. Estaremos incrementando la frecuencia de transmisiones en vivo desde técnicamente, así que si pasan por aquí, ven esta transmisión y se animan, conéctense, suscríbanse, comenten nuestros vídeos, nuestras transmisiones y bueno, sean parte de esta comunidad para seguir juntos acercando el cosmos a nuestras vidas. Hasta luego. SpaceX ha logrado una nueva meta, hacer la reentrada completa de su nave y hasta la próxima. Nos estamos viendo. Seguimos acercando el cosmos a nuestras vidas. Hasta luego.